As you know, I'm a Future 42 ambassador, and I think this story really illustrates why. You know, Future 42 put on an event last week with Americans for Prosperity. We told you all about it. It was on Wednesday, and for a 2-hour period of time at a gas station in Kent, they dropped the price per gallon of regular gasoline to the national average, which was $3.82. And it kind of it was very stunning to see the marquee of $3.82 because we haven't been there in so long. And they had people lining up more than an hour in advance to be able to take advantage of that lower gas price. And they had, according to the gas station, more people come through for gasoline in that 2-hour period than they did in previous 24-hour periods. So the event was very successful in that sense. But I also hear that, and it makes me a little bit sad. Because you're talking about people who are taking a huge chunk of time out of their day to be able to fill up their tank at a lower price, about $1.50 lower, a little more than that, depending on where you're at. And to me, that really indicates how big of an impact those gas prices, those high gas prices have on working class individuals who, investing 2 hours of their day to sit in line, that's worth it for them because they are operating really on the margins when it comes to their budget. And there was a piece of video. So Simon Sefcik, a former state lawmaker who's now a director for Future 42, he went down there and we would have loved to go down, but it was right before our show, during our show prep. And he took some video and did some interviews with people who'd shown up to take advantage of the lower gas prices. And one of them was with a veteran. And what he said about why he came really struck me. Watch.
My name's Corey Rube.
And Corey, why are you here today?
I'm very stretched in my income. I'm a disabled veteran and living on a limited income. Have a hard time affording gas, food, rent, and the other increases. I've really been knocked flat over the last 18 months by the raise in prices. And this additional carbon tax they've added to fuel has hurt me bad and had to limit the amount of volunteer work I can do because I can't afford transportation.
And Corey, which branch did you serve in?
U.S. Army, 28 years. I spent 5 years in Iraq on 4 different deployments.
When I heard his story, I couldn't help but immediately think it's people like him who the government and who Jay Inslee has been lying to about all of this. And that really, really bothers me. You know, we go back to when the cap and trade program was being discussed and debated and then eventually passed. And there were so many warnings about, hey, this is going to increase gas prices pretty significantly. And Governor Inslee denied that.
At what point are you going to tell the people of Washington State that they're going to possibly see much higher gas prices next year because of the CO2 emissions tax?
Well, that's not true. They are not going to see much higher gas prices, maybe even lower than they are today. This is going to have minimal impact, if any, pennies. We're talking about pennies, potentially. Not all of this would be passed off to the consumers.
He denied it up to the point where those increases manifested, and he couldn't deny it anymore. And then who did he blame? He blamed greedy gas and oil companies, and he didn't accept an ounce of responsibility for himself. And so when I think about, people like this veteran who showed up, waited, said, hey, I'm stretched thin. It's hard for me to afford things like food and groceries, and I can't spend as much time volunteering because the gas prices are so high and it costs a lot of money to get from point A to point B. It genuinely makes me madder than I've ever been that our state leaders wouldn't come out and just acknowledge from the very beginning, hey, this program is going to raise costs at the pump. And we want you to know that. We want to be transparent about it. And we want to, defend why we think it's necessary. But they couldn't even do that. And now you have people who are really, really, truly struggling. And that's what bothers me, I think, more than anything else. And he made a good point, and let me actually play the rest of that where Simon Sefcik asked him, is there anything you'd say to state lawmakers who supported this policy?
So they should take mercy on the citizens of Washington State, especially people with lower or fixed incomes, the elderly, the disabled, who need transportation to get to the hospital, to get to the grocery store, and that all of our food and other essentials come by trucks that also pay these taxes. It hurts us far more than the wealthy or people entitled like politicians.
And that's really what it is doing. And so I find myself after that Future 42 event just being a little angry and a little disappointed and honestly a little sad to see how many people were lining up to try to take advantage of those lower gas prices, and then to hear some of the stories and to realize that, gosh, and then you have politicians who push these policies who can't even be bothered to tell the truth about them. And that's really bothersome to me. That segment was brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org.